This man will never die.
Huh?
Mtu bwana, mimi mpaka namuogopa. Sisi sote
I kid you not. He has died not just once, twice or 3 times, but 6 times and came back to life.
Baadhi ya watu wana kauli ambayo ya kusema kama bwana yule anaweza kuwa ni mchawi mkubwa sana wa hapa.
Finally, there was a day when people, greatly concerned and considering him a problem, burned him in his house to see if he could finally die. Guess what? He was burned and couldn't breathe because of the smoke.
Way.
He died that day, but here I am with him today. How is this possible?
lakini sio kuja
Way,
kuzika.
they
Kama sio kuja
burned him
kuzika.
alive.
I saw it with my own eyes. We had come to bury him, but just before the ceremony started, he came out of the coffin. This wasn't the only time. Even after that, he continued to cause confusion because there were other occasions when he died and came back to life. From serious accidents, illnesses and other incidents, this man has died multiple
he
times.
immortal?
Each time his family and friends gathered for his funeral, but on the day of the burial, the man would come back to life.
Walishindwa kuniamini mtu.
Life continued, but I felt that there was something wrong with my life. Every time I died and came back, my body felt very strange. Because of the many witches in our area, people started treating me as if I were a witch.
Bro.
Is he immortal or has any special powers? How do people treat him? All these questions made me travel a long way to Tanzania to find out if what is being said is true. I didn't believe it either, but I accepted it after meeting him and having this conversation.
Asante, naitwa Ismail Azizi Tamla.
My name is Ismail Azizi. I am 40 years old and
He's
live in
40 years
Ukerewe,
old.
Tanzania.
He does not
where
look
I was
like a
born.
40-year-old
I was
guy.
born with siblings, but now I
Okay.
am alone and have no wife or children because of the hardships I
Guys,
faced.
please
I
answer
did
the
not
question,
grow up in
okay?
a wealthy
Answer the
family.
question in the
We were
chats.
very poor. I couldn't pursue further education, which affected my chances of becoming wealthy or achieving something special. Despite my dreams of becoming rich, my struggles in life made it impossible.
That's actually
Because
crazy.
he grew up in a difficult environment, he had to face life and work hard on his own, since there was no one to provide everything he needed. He couldn't rely on his parents, siblings, or family due to their limited resources. Day after day, he worked very hard to survive. However, as he grew older, life's challenges became even more demanding.
Nilipata ajali ya gari.
The problems I have faced in life are numerous because each one was related to my circumstances, and I had to deal with them. To find myself living as you see me today, there was a time when I was at work and had a very serious accident. Everyone who saw it thought my life was over. They took me to the hospital in critical condition, and when we arrived at the hospital, the doctors told my friends and relatives that I was dead. My brothers and other close family members had already accepted that they had lost me in the accident. They took me to the morgue. I didn't feel what was happening before, but I woke up again, feeling very cold. Fortunately, the morgue wasn't closed, and it was a place where people were laid, not locked in a box alone. When I got up and walked, I wasn't fully conscious, but I saw everyone staring at me in shock. Soon, my family came to pick me up and take me back home.
No way.
This was
No
shocking
way.
news to see a dead person come back to life, something usually only heard of in books. On one hand, the family was happy because they saw Ismail alive again, but on the other hand, it was confusing and caused great fear among people who knew much about his funeral, which had already been prepared.
Hilo walikaa nao walikaa kwa wasiwasi na kuniangalia.
When we got home, I found a lot of people there, but when they saw me, they immediately started to run away. They had already begun the funeral rituals because everyone had accepted that I was dead.
Because he
People
was
started
declared
thinking I was a
dead.
ghost, which is why most of them ran away as soon as they saw me. After that, life went on, but people didn't believe I was a real person. Instead, they all thought I was a ghost, and some even feared me because of what I had been through up to that day. As the days went by, the problems kept coming his way. each bringing a new challenge and creating confusion and fear in those around him. The events that followed the second time are difficult to explain in a way that makes sense to the human mind.
Correct.
Watu walinichukua na kunipeleka hospitali.
At that time, I was suffering from malaria. I had been very sick for days at home, and no one took care of me. When my condition worsened, people finally
इसको अगर तुम्हें easily समझना हो तो understand it like कि तुम एक गांव में रह रहे हो, ठीक है ना, जहाँ पे people like literally die easily because of diseases or accidents or any minor injuries which can get worse by the time. So people literally die बहुत ज़्यादा easily in villages. So now in his village he was declared dead and suddenly he was alive. People were literally watching him and वो यही सोचेंगे कि maybe he is possessed by some satanic thing or what.
They
Probably.
took me to the doctor. The illness had advanced, and I was in a bad state. The doctors declared that I was dead. My family immediately prepared a coffin for me. However, as soon as they placed me in the coffin, I woke up and realized I was alive. They couldn't believe it, because this was the second time it had happened. They brought the doctors to verify that I was alive. Even my parents couldn't believe that someone could die and come back to life more than once. This made me suspicious as well. And because of the many witches in our area, people started treating me as if I were a witch.
Like malaria and dengue,
Mimi
yeah.
naitwa Almasi Pazi.
My name is Almansi. I was born here, and I know that man very well. His experiences are so frightening that I am afraid of him myself. What you have heard is not a lie because I saw it with my own eyes. We had come to bury him, but just before the ceremony started, he came out of the coffin. Everyone there immediately ran away because it is terrifying to see someone you know is dead come back to life. This wasn't the only time.
Do you know
Even after
Shanti
that, he
Devi
continued to
reincarnation
cause
story? Yes, I do
confusion
know about
because
her
there were other
reincarnation story.
occasions when he died and came back to life.
Nilipata ajali ya gari ambaye tuligongana na
I finally reached a point where I started wondering who was responsible. For the third time, we were on a trip when our car collided with another vehicle carrying fuel, and I went into a coma. This happened at different hospitals, and even the doctors started to get scared because I had been in front of them so many times. They began treating me as if I were a witch.
Oh,
I
God.
returned home, and life continued, but this time I was living alone because my family was far away. It didn't
Because
end
probably
there.
they were
The
afraid
following
of
year,
him.
while farming, I was bitten by a snake. With no one to help me, I went to the doctor only after the poison had spread throughout my body. It didn't take long for me to die. This time, my family came back because I spent 3 days in the morgue, which was longer than I had ever been dead before.
He was dead for 3 days.
This time,
No
many
way.
people, including his family, believed that he was truly dead. They gathered again and planned his burial. However, the day they went to retrieve his body from the hospital became the most horrifying day of their lives. His old
How
friend recalls
can
being among
one
those who
be
went to
dead
pick
for
up the
3
body
days
that
and-
day.
Fazaka hizi hata mimi naogopa.
Often when I think about what happened that day, I feel scared again. We all thought it was over since it had been 3 days. We went to the morgue to bring
How is
him
this
for burial,
possible?
but we found him
Exactly.
looking alive. Some of us were in shock because it was hard to believe,
It
but we saw it
was,
with our
it
own
is.
eyes. It didn't stop there. Months later, he fell into a toilet pit and was taken out dead, but then he got up again. Everyone ran away in fear, and now, whenever we see him, we run because we can't believe he's human. This was the 5th time this man had died but come back to life. In the area where he lives, people started
can be
treating him as a
a
sorcerer,
scientific
while others
coincidence.
believed he was under God's protection.
sure.
However, most people began to see him as a serious problem. Even the last time, it was the locals who tried to end his life.
Bro, they burned
nilikuja
him.
kuzinduka niko
I continued to live, but I felt that there was something wrong with my life. Every time I died and came back, my body felt very strange. Finally, people came to my house, claiming I was a great witch in our area, and set the house on fire. Trapped inside, I had no way to escape. The smoke made it impossible to breathe, and though some good people came to help, they found me dead. I woke up again in the hospital morgue. By this time, my brothers and others started saying that I was no ordinary person and could not die unless God willed it. One thing that might explain my situation is a family story I heard. My grandfather once died and came back to life.
Ah, this happens in his dreams.
Today, he lives a solitary life, doing everything possible to survive in a small old house,
Oh,
with no
okay.
neighbors or anyone around him. He takes care of himself and does all the housework alone, without any help from relatives or friends. Each day is a struggle, but he manages to keep going despite the isolation and hardships. But is this man's supposed immortality really a problem for others, or is it just a perception in the minds of those around him?
Unaishi nao hivyo hivyo upande
In general, there is no problem with him. He knows how to get along with people well, and we have never heard of him doing anything bad. People fear him because of what happened, but he is not a bad person in society. I don't think people's attitudes will change because it's scary living with someone who has died 6 times and come back. However, Ismail is
like
not a
from
bad
their
person.
perspective
It's
is
just the
very
problems he faced that make people wary.
Kwa mimi hali kama hii siwezi kuifurahia.
One thing I can say is that I don't regret being like this, but I worry that I won't die because every time I die I come back. I don't enjoy living like this anymore because I don't get the same opportunities as others. People are afraid of me, so I can't get a job or earn money like others. I consider dying and coming back to life as God's grace. On one hand, I am not a special being immune to death, but it's a gift from God. The way people behave towards me is a problem, but I have some advice for them. Live well with others, even if you have problems. Put God first, and don't hurt those around you, because sometimes what happens is beyond their control. Despite his incredible and terrifying experiences, he has remained a kind and gentle person. We are all unique in our own ways. We shouldn't always fear what we don't understand. Instead, we should recognize that everyone has their own struggles, and treating others with respect can make a big difference. Before you mistreat someone, ask yourself, what if it were me?
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy watching someone who came back to life like for 6 times. They didn't ask him how it felt in the 3 days. In that 3 days, how can he even answer that question? Because like think about it, he was dead for 3 days and then came back to life. तो उसके लिए तो it's like कि वो just अपने नींद से उठा है. So नींद में he does not know what happened or how does he felt. वो बस उठ गया and then he got to know that he was like dead for 3 days. So technically he won't know